And here we are in another sketchbook, Sketchbook 83, which is unlike any of the other sketchbooks because as they all are recording something in time, this was recording my chemo and radiation therapy and going through that whole journey of cancer and recovery, getting through it and drawing it as it was happening in many cases. During chemo, I'd go ahead and draw. I think every session of chemo, I was able to draw. And in radiation, you can't, obviously, you're on a table, but for the most part, was able to draw at the beginning of that. And then after I was finished, after about 2 months of that, I wasn't able to draw for a while. But the majority of this was done during those sessions, so it's unique. Some of the sketches are like a figure inside of a suit. People ask me, like, is that some sort of bodysuit? Yes, one of the feelings that I had throughout chemo was I felt like I was in someone else's body, like wearing somebody else's body, like a big wetsuit, like a loaded wetsuit. Felt like I was inside of it. Because certain things like feeding tubes and ports just made me feel like it was like disconnected. So a lot of these drawings appear to sort of showcase that feeling of what that's like. Most people have heard the term like art therapy, or maybe I've been asked the question, is your art therapeutic? Is it like your therapy? I don't know, but I do know in this situation, sometimes I drew just in the middle of, just like a horrible migraine kind of pain from the medication. It was something you'd have to take morphine for. So as you're sort of chasing that pain with morphine, I drew sometimes just to try to get out of that pain and see what came out of it, kind of as a curiosity. And that helped the pain go away in some cases temporarily as I got sort of distracted with the drawing. So in some cases, drawing can just actually act like an aspirin. As long as you don't start getting stressed out about what you're drawing, if you just kind of let it go, and it can actually, for me, it sort of actually took physical pressure out of behind my head. Almost I felt like I was exhaling or something as the drawing came out. So yeah, I mean, I'm not any kind of art therapist or doctor or anything, but I do feel that by drawing, it does feel like exhaling sometimes, just to get it out of the pen and onto the paper. I don't know, it provides some relief sometime in the middle of some physical pain. Like many of my sketchbooks, I'm using ballpoint pen to start, and then coming back in with watercolor or watercolor pencils. And lately, in the last couple of sketchbooks, I've started to use a mechanical pencil, which I had really never used before. But I like that I don't need a sharpener. And so I can only just carry that one thing. The downside is you got to go fixative every page. And for those of you that use fixative, it's probably the worst thing you can spray in your studio in terms of the odor. It's pretty strong. There's some drawings that all the drawings in a sketchbook or in my sketchbooks, they're pretty raw. That can be taken a lot of different ways. They're definitely unfiltered. I don't think you should really ever use an eraser in your sketchbook. I just think whatever's in there. I think the attitude using a sketchbook, it's almost like you're a musician. Just play, just jam. I mean, you don't need to stop and start the song over because you're not recording. You just let it go. Whatever's in there is meant to be in there. I also, as you can see, there's 2 or 3 self-portraits that I drew, and I hadn't done that for years, but I stationed a little mirror, a little 12-inch mirror across from me when I would use like a feeding tube, and that way I could kind of see myself and try to draw in the moment some of the anxiety or some of the stress that was happening from it. So when I look back on them, they seem accurate. So I guess that's the best way to sort of check in with yourself. If you draw something personal that you're going through and it looks like how it feels to you, then you're probably you probably figured it out, so it'll probably work with other things. Because only you know that if it works for you and it looks like how you felt, nobody can argue with you about that. So they're raw. They come out in 15 minutes or something, and they're raw. And then all of the drawings go into production in the sense that they're all scanned and photographed. And they're put in our digital library. But those images, some of them I will then collage other elements into them or redraw on top of them and turning them into a much deeper version of the original raw state. And as you'll see in this video, you'll notice that the raw sketch in the sketchbook, as the more detailed one passes by, there's some significant changes in there. I don't really try to take a sketchbook drawing here and draw a big version of it. That just wouldn't be a very creative act. But some of the images that came out raw have inspired larger works that in themselves are in their own world, a different world from these. A lot of people are familiar with this. The day that Kobe died, there's a sketch here I did just sort of as it sort of came on the news, and that's what sort of came out.